Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, men and women, the big dogs, Cam and Ward are back. Episode 14. We're live. We're here. Cam, what's good with you, my brother?
Doing well, man. The big dogs, the fat cats, whatever you want to call us, that's us. But this is episode 14 of the Fat Cats podcast. Wouldn't be right if I didn't start it out like this. All right, boys, we are back. Today is 7/11/23. I forgot the month. July 11th, 2023. Ward, tell me about your week so far, man. I'm excited to be back with you.
One thing I want to say is if you look at our social media right now, Instagram is now up to 117 followers. Shout out to the 117 supporters on Instagram. And YouTube is at 86, I want to say. Spotify, we are up to 25, I believe, something like that. So Spotify, we're slacking a little bit, but YouTube seems to be the main communication platform for us, Cam. I guess everybody, me and you were just two beautiful gentlemen, and we're the best looking podcast. We're the best looking podcast duo in the Carolinas, on the East Coast, on the West Coast, in the United States of America. So, but no, to Cam, to answer your question very longly, it's been a great week. It was a great weekend. Cam, I didn't tell you about this. I went to a Mexican wedding this weekend. First time I've ever been to one. Mexican wedding. It was the groom was Mexican and the female was Costa Rican, I believe. No English was spoken at this wedding. I mean, they said their vows in Spanish. They did everything in Spanish. I've never seen anything like it, Cam. Funny story. One thing, these people party big time. A lot of margaritas, a lot of Coronas were drank. But anyway, something very cool, Cam, that they do is the best man and the best woman, whatever you call her, the maid of honor, say their speech in English. Somebody has to come in and actually repeat their speech in Spanish because the crowd could not understand the English, which I thought was really cool. It was one of Madison's friends from her work or whatever. But yeah, that was awesome, man. Then the UFC fights for me. So Cam, answer your question very longly. Great weekend. How about yourself, brother?
I love it. I know you did tell me that this was an outdoor wedding
Yeah.
in the middle of summer in North Carolina with full suits on as well, if I'm not mistaken. So God bless you, man. You're a trooper. You're a warrior. Shout out to you. The UFC card was absolutely incredible this weekend, Ward. Before we get into it, I do want to remind you guys, find us on Spotify and YouTube at the Fat Cats Podcast. That's KATZ. Find us on Instagram and TikTok at Fat Cats Pod. And we've got an exciting update here, Ward. The T-shirts are coming, man.
The T-shirts are here, boys. Check them out.
So make sure that you guys get your orders in. We're going to be ordering T-shirts in the next 2 weeks. Get your pre-orders in, and we'll get them out to you guys. But make sure you get your shirts if you want one. This is going to be the cheapest you will ever be able to get a Fat Cats T-shirt. I promise you.
Hey, the first order is the cheapest one, and they only go up from here.
We're starting out at $20. Me and Ward are making $1 a piece on these T-shirts, and we're putting it right back into the podcast for soundboards, new mics, all that stuff. So,
absolutely,
just want to remind you guys, get T-shirts. And before we get into it, everybody's favorite segment, we got first, favorite, and forgotten for episode 14, Ward. I'm going to let you start it out.
Cam, funny story. This is actually the first number that I've had to research and figure out who wears number 14. I think we started this at what, number 9, number 8?
Number 9.
Well, anyway, in the last month and a half, this is the first one I've had to research. And for any up-and-coming quarterbacks, if you want to wear 14 and go in a league and make a name for yourself with a number that nobody's ever done anything with, now's the time to do it. But first one that I saw, number 14, that I did actually think of this one off the top of my head, Mr. DK Metcalf, Ole Miss Rebel. Now he plays for the Seattle Seahawks, the buffest guy in the NFL, and he's pretty fast too, Cam.
Yep, I love it. If you want to see a hilarious DK Metcalf moment, look up DK Metcalf celebration against Mississippi State. He scored a touchdown with a minute left. And instead of, celebrating and high-fiving your teammates, he went up to the goalpost, Ward, and hiked his leg up and took a piss on the goalpost, man.
Hey,
got 15. They end up losing the game because of this penalty. It's hilarious.
Hey, Cam, before you do that, I want to do a listener take really quick. Cam just brought something to my attention, and I want to ask. So there's another goalpost rant out there that happened with Mr. Antonio Brown, Steelers legend. He scored, and he pretended to wipe his butt with the football, or he took a poop and wiped his butt with the football. Pretended to. So For all listeners out there, which one is worse? DK Metcalf pissing on the Mississippi State goalpost, or Antonio Brown wiping his butt with the football? Cam, which one do you think, man?
Antonio Brown's didn't lose the game for his team. DK Metcalf's did. I'm going with DK Metcalf. But
Yeah.
for my first here, I'm going to go Kentucky legend, absolute bust in the NBA. I'm going to go Michael Kidd Gilchrist for my first right here, Ward.
Hey, we need to queue up. If you ever listen to any DaBaby, they go, Kid. That's what I think of when I hear Michael Kidd Gilchrist. But yeah, he is a bust. Not as much as Wemby, but he's a bust. But going into number 2, my favorite number 14. There's not many 14s out there. You know, this guy, Mr. Stephon Diggs. I've had him on my fantasy team the past 3 years, and he has won me a lot of games. So I'm gonna go with my favorite, and I'm gonna go with Mr. Minnesota Viking and Mr. Buffalo Bills, Stephon Diggs.
For those of you who don't know or haven't played fantasy with Ward, he'll go out of his way to take Stephon Diggs.
He wins you games, buddy.
Stephon Diggs could be a projected third rounder in fantasy, and Ward will take him in the first round. He loves Stephon Diggs. But for my favorite 14, I'm going to go Pete Rose, not because he's the all-time hits leader in MLB history. It's because if you go to Vegas, you will find Pete Rose if you're there long enough, and he will ask you to take a picture with him, or he will ask you if you want an autograph. That's why I love Pete Rose. Damn shame he's not in the.
Hey, who said Pat Katz isn't a baseball podcast? But I'm going with my forgotten number 14, and this is people might not remember this. If anybody's ever heard the name Sam Darnold, Mr. USC legend, he once played for a team before Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers called the New York Jets. And when he was on the Jets, he wore number 14, and he was awful. And now, who's he on now? The 49ers. Did he wear he wore 14 for the Panthers too, didn't he?
I think he wore 10 for the Panthers, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
I don't know either. But yeah, he wore 14 for the Jets, and he was pretty bad. So that's gonna be my forgotten 14, Cam.
My Uncle Steven was on top of Sam Darnold, man. He said from his junior year, this guy stinks. I'm riding with Uncle Steven on every quarterback take from here on out. My forgotten, and this is a little bit of a stretch, Ward. He wore 14 in San Antonio for one season, is Hedo Turkoglu. People forget how nasty Hedo was back in the late 2000s on that Magic team with Dwight Howard and Rashard Lewis. Man, Hedo Turkoglu, the first ever point forward. He's my guy. I love some Hedo Turkoglu.
Hey, people. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Cam. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
Hey, people might have forgot Hedo Turkoglu wore number 14. I'd never heard of the guy. I forgot who he was in general. So great forgotten there, Cam. I love it, brother.
Yep. The real OGs know about Hedo Turkoglu, the 6'10" point guard, man. He was awesome to watch. But as we get into it, man, we got fans fat takes. Goodness gracious, excuse me. Fans fat takes coming up. We've got top stories to cover. We've got a Fat Cats draft. We're doing best primes as running backs this week, Ward.
I am
got
excited
some NBA news
about this one, son. Did my research.
Some NBA news, some NFL news, college football news, UFC big time news, pet peeve of the week, full play empty stomach, and song of the week. Getting into it with our fans' fat takes. My dad, Jeff Taylor, says that one of our moments should have been the Miracle on Ice, Ward. He said he never watched hockey in his life, but he can remember that moment as a kid growing up, that moment when the U.S. beat the Soviet Union in Russia. I believe in Russia. But USA, he also says, yeah, USA in the so. He also says, how do you leave Stetson Bennett off the top 10 quarterback list of the 2020s, Ward? He's got a point. He's a Heisman finalist, two-time national champion. I don't know if he's the level of quarterback, but he does have a resume for himself.
He does. And going off the Miracle on Ice, Mr. Taylor, me and Cam were both we weren't thought of yet when the Miracle on Ice happened. So that's our defense. We were very, very early in the making. So not even sure if you and Miss Mama T knew each other at that point yet. But anyway, and then going off of the Stetson Bennett, this is a very good argument, Cam. I mean, you can't argue against Stetson Bennett. He won 2 natties. He was a Heisman finalist. So good argument there. I'd say we might have to do a Q&A session of we might have to do an Instagram QA session, Cam, on the Instagram story of should Stetson Bennett be on the top 10 QB list? What do you think?
I like it. I like it. And I'll tell you what, outside of Athens, there's no two people that love Stetson Bennett more than my father and our best friend, James Fry. Those two will ride with the mailman until they die.
Who's Stetson Bennett play for now?
He's on the Rams.
Is he on the Rams? Okay.
Yep. Next, my Uncle Steven says, I don't know if Pat White is a top 10 guy, but he deserves more love when considering best careers. I agree with this, Ward. Pat White was electric when Rich Rod was there at West Virginia. That offense with him and Steve Slayton was so fun to watch and really attributes to a lot of my memories as a young college football fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then he also says, I love Baker and want him to do great things, but having him at 1 is ridiculous, and I could not agree more.
Mm-hmm. Pat White was there. He was there before Tavon Austin, right? Or did he play with Tavon Austin?
Yep. So he was 2 quarterbacks removed from Geno Smith.
Okay, yeah, because I remember the Pat White day. That was like early, like it was like watching football.
Yeah, that was like 05, 06, 07 was the prime Pat White years. Actually, I don't know if you can see it, but Pat White is up here on my
Pat White on the wall. Okay. Yeah. That's a great Uncle Steven. I love the take. Great take. And I agree with you as well. Baker should not be number 10 or number 1 on that list. ESPN is searching for some clickbait, according to my boy Cam.
ESPN, man, they rub some people the wrong way. Between texts and comments and everything, Baker Mayfield only had one person who actually thought that he should be number 1. I'm going to leave that person out of this one. But my boy Logan Springer says, Malcolm Butler interception, Messi World Cup, Linsanity, and the Vince Young Natty should have been considered for most iconic moments last week. And he is here to defend Baker. He said he should be at 4 or 5, not 1. But he won the Heisman over Lamar. I rebuttal and say Lamar won the Heisman over him the year prior, but whatever. And was very good for 3 seasons, plus 2 Heisman finalists. We're not saying that he wasn't good for 3 years. We're saying is absolutely asinine that he's the best quarterback to play college football of the 2000s.
Cam, I don't think you can say that any better, buddy. The Malcolm Butler interception, that's great. It's a great hot take, Cam. That might even be a Instagram story worthy one as well. One of the best defensive plays ever in a Super Bowl. Messi World Cup, good for Messi. I'm not speaking for Cam here. Not a big soccer guy personally, but I will say the Fat Cats is not much of a soccer podcast. Linsanity, I remember the early Linsanity New York days. I don't know if that's top 10s or I don't know if that's best sports moments ever. He was good, but not that good. Vince Young Natty, that could definitely be up there. And I know that was an honorable mention, I believe, by Cam that was thrown in there. But Ellis Spring, you got some good stats here backing up Baker. But I don't throw him top. I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback all time. I'd say maybe somewhere between that 10 and 7 range. 7 would be a stretch. I have him at 8 or 9 personally, but no, I like it, man. I like the enthusiasm.
And I'll say on the Linsanity point, that was extremely fun. Was not iconic though. It did nothing for the Knicks. They won a few games and then it just went away. But lastly, we have Justin Alford, Mr. Consistency.
Big dog.
He won the draw last week, so shout out to him one last time. He thought Tiger winning the Masters in 2019 or 2018 could have been mentioned in the top sports moments. I agree.
I agree with that.
I don't think golf has the same magnitude as the other sports we talked about.
It is not.
And he also says not a huge Baker fan, but to say he's a 1-season guy is a stretch. I don't remember saying this. Did you say this, Ward?
I did.
Okay. And then he's had over 3,700 yards and 36 touchdowns each of his last 3 years of college. I'd still put him at 9 or 10 on the list. That's another thing we didn't really get to touch on. There was like 2 or 3 guys missing from this list that I would have put over Baker.
Yeah, me too. And I think I named them all. I mean, you got to think about it. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Baker has great stats, man. But look, he plays in the Big 12. The Big 12 is an offensive powerhouse when it comes. I mean, they don't have defense in the Big 12. You look at some of their games. I mean, they beat Texas one year. It was like 63-56. I mean, in a regular season rivalry game, you look at the other Power 5 conferences, it doesn't happen like that. So, yeah, don't get me wrong. Baker has great stats, but I mean, look at the defenses he was playing against, which, to his argument, he was in the Big 12. But But yeah, we did miss some guys that I would have put over Baker. I know one off the top of my head. I think Jameis Winston personally was better than Baker Mayfield in college. Shoot me,
Agreed.
don't shoot or get mad at me if you want, but Jameis Winston won a national championship. He was the number one pick. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, I don't know, that he was great for 2 years. Speaks for
I
itself.
agree. I think Jameis Winston gets forgotten.
Who else? Who else did we leave off that list? I wrote people down. I texted you about people.
Yeah, well, I think we had Manziel on that list as well.
Manziel, Manziel, man, Manziel. I mean, Manziel
was,
didn't win a natty, but he was arguably the greatest college football quarterback ever. I don't know how he was left off that list, but speaking of Johnny Manziel, Netflix is coming up with a documentary about him. Did you see that? I can't wait.
I was just about to say that. If you guys haven't watched the Untold series on Netflix, is one of the most fun things. It's like Untold Sports Stories. Great thing to watch if you get a chance, but they are doing one on Manziel. And getting into it, Ward, breaking news.
One more, Cam. I'm sorry. There was no Trevor Lawrence on that list either, which is crazy
That's
to
true.
me as well.
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence almost has a case over Watson as well, in my opinion.
He does. I mean, Trevor Lawrence won a natty as well. He won he won a Heisman? No, he didn't win a Heisman.
No Heisman. But semi-breaking news here, Ward, before we got on the pod. Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou are fighting in a pro boxing match on October 28th in Saudi Arabia. This was huge when it broke, but now that we know it's an exhibition match, so no records on the line, there's a no knockdown clause in the contract, Ward.
What?
So what are we going to be watching? These two behemoth giants, savages, play pillow fight with each other.
So what do you mean a no
rounds?
knockdown clause? What does that mean?
They
can't drop each other?
Yeah, they can't knock each other down. How ridiculous. What has this sport of boxing? I used to love boxing, Ward. You know this, and you used to love boxing. What has this sport come to that we're going to watch two of the baddest men on the planet pillow fight for an hour and a half, and people are going to pay for this, Ward? This is ridiculous. This is an embarrassment to boxing, in my opinion.
Yeah. And this is why, in my opinion, Cam, I've told you this for 4 years now, the UFC is miles and miles and miles and miles ahead of professional boxing. One, the reason why I defend the UFC over this, the UFC has I'm not going to say a monopoly over other fighting organizations, but the real fighters are in the UFC. The best of the best are in the UFC. Boxing, man, these guys come in 30-0 versus 27-0. Both of them have 5 championships in different organizations. It doesn't happen like that in mixed martial arts. But no, this is sorry. I don't know what promotion is putting this on. I don't know if it's the WBC or what. But I mean, I get, I understand a no record or no records can be broken, or not records. You know what I mean? But the no knockdown clause, I understand Mike Tyson and Roy Jones Jr. had that. These dudes are like 55 years old. I mean, Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou are both in the prime of their careers. I think it's ridiculous, and this just puts boxing further down the list in my opinion.
Yep, and I understand for Ngannou to get a bag, like it makes sense, but
yeah,
the organization for putting this on and letting them have a no knockdown clause is asinine to me. This has made boxing almost a joke to me, in my opinion. Like, even when McGregor and Mayweather fought, like, you could say that was a joke, but those dudes actually fought.
They did.
And Floyd's record was on the line. This is a joke to the sport, and this is why I think the UFC is vastly superior to any other fighting organization.
Couldn't agree more, Cam.
Last night, again, not a baseball podcast, but Vladdy Jr. won the 2023 Home Run Derby. Him and his father become the first father-son duo to both win the Home Run Derby. That's an awesome story, Ward.
I thought it was awesome. I personally did not watch the Home Run Derby. I was running on the treadmill at the gym this morning. I was watching the highlights, was making the run go by faster. But I saw one highlight, and this is kind of bad from the Home Run Derby. Cam, don't know if you've watched the ESPN today. Every year the Home Run Derby partners with the stop. Every year the Home Run Derby partners with the Boys and Girls Club of America. And you can't stop, man. And there's like 200 kids. And there's like 200 kids in the outfield. Vladimir Guerrero hits a mean line drive to left field, and this kid comes up to catch it, man. Boom! hit him right in the face. And I won't say Fat Cats listeners, I don't think this is funny at all. Cam is on the other side of the camera making faces at me, making me laugh. But it hit this kid, man, and he laid out. He was laid out on the ground. Thank God he's okay, and he is okay. ESPN posted it. But God, man, they need to. I hope they make those kids sign a waiver or something, because these are grown men, professional athletes hitting bombs. That ball was going 126 miles an hour, and it hit that kid right in the eye. What's your opinion on that, Cam?
That kid's not going to live that down for the rest of his life. If you watch the
he
video,
won't be at next year's home run derby.
If you watch the video, it's unfortunate that it happened. I'm glad he's okay. Let me say that first. But if you watch the video, it looks like there's a hole in his glove. Like he goes up and it just pops him in the face. It was brutal to watch. But sniper!
shout out to that kid, man.
I hope you're doing well, brother.
Baseball career.
We'll send you a t-shirt if you want one.
Hey, hit us up.
But moving on, Saturday, the UFC put on a terrific event with UFC 290 with us going 3-2 in our picks, Ward, which is a plus day. It wasn't great, but a plus day. We had Alexander Volkanovski with a TKO win over Yair Rodriguez in the third
everybody
round.
had that one.
Yeah, I don't know anybody that picked Yair in that fight. We had Alex Patoa. I still don't know how to say that name. And a split decision win over Brandon Moreno. So a new champion in that one. I saw a judge had that fight 49-46 Moreno.
Which is insane to me. Yeah. I
cannot believe
that
they were watching the same fight.
Yeah, every time there's a split decision, man. There's always a judge that has an outrageous, but judges score fights differently. That guy Patega had a bunch of takedowns on Brandon Moreno, but he didn't do anything with him. He got a lot of back points. If this was wrestling, he'd be doing great. But judges will score based off how much damage they do on the ground. He didn't do any damage. So I'm not agreeing with the judge. I think there's no way how you can only give Patea, whatever his name is, one round. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Our boy DDP, Dricus Du Plessis, I'm going to refer to him as DDP from here on out. TKO's Robert Whitaker in the second round. 1, shout out DDP. That was a great performance. 2, I'm sad for my boy Bobby Knuckles. As a guy who loves him, it was tough to see him go that way. And 3rd, Izzy getting in the ring and calling DDP the N-word is the funniest thing I maybe have ever seen in my life.
I will say, DDP, I hope you're listening to this podcast right now. Dricus Du Plessis, however you say your name. I'm sorry, man. I talk so much shit on you. I've been talking shit on you for the past year. I thought you sucked. After I watched you fight Wilmington, North Carolina's finest, Derek Brunson, you didn't put on a great performance. I didn't think you were very good. I thought Bobby Knuckles was going to run through you. I didn't bet any money against you, but God, I was about to. And you came out and you completely proved me wrong. I don't agree with the whole Izzy thing. I get you got to put on for a show, but come on, man, leave the racial stuff out of it. It's a 2023, man. But anyway, hell of a performance by DDP. I will be tuning in. Me and Cam will probably watch it together because Cam's a big Izzy guy for that fight against you and Izzy. I'm not going to bet against Izzy. I will never bet against Izzy again. But hell of a fight. Hats off to you. Full respect to you. I cannot wait to watch that.
One thing I do take away from this is this feels very similar for Bobby Knuckles is like when Tony Ferguson got knocked out by
Justin Gaethje.
Yeah, it just feels like it's kind of like the end of the
downfall. Yeah. And he got dominated, man. Even from start to finish, he got dominated.
He did not.
And dude,
and it's sad too.
Is huge, bro. He might be bigger than Paulo Costa.
He looked like Paulo when he walked in.
Yoked, man. And see, the thing is, I saw a picture today. You look at his ears. He has bow knuckle ears, bro. He has bow nickel ears. He has cauliflower ear from hell. So he must be training some sort of wrestling to go use against Izzy. We'll see, but
I do want to touch on the Izzy thing. The reason I thought it was funny is because for years DDP has been telling Izzy he's the true African champion. It's funny to me, but Izzy cutting that promo in the ring, I thought was hilarious to make that backfire on him.
Yeah.
But as we move on, our boy, my guy, I love Dan Hooker. He wins in a split decision over Jalen Turner. This was a very fun fight, Ward.
Hell of a fight.
These two went at it, bro. These two didn't hold any punches back. They were getting knocked down, they were getting dazed, and they were just coming back fighting. It reminded me of like the old UFC days when
Yeah,
those
it
dudes
did.
just
Hell of
spit
a.
on the ground.
I mean, Dan Hooker, man. Anytime Dan Hooker fights, it's going to be a war. He always comes out looking for a war. Especially he's big into the tattoos now, which I thought was pretty cool. He got both his legs done, or his half his legs done from his knee down. He got his back, half his back done. Then he dyed his hair blonde like he's a wrestler. I thought that was pretty cool. No, dude, what a war! Especially to start off that was the second fight on the card. But after, dude, I was texting my cousin. So my cousin was actually there. Him and his buddy bought tickets. They were in Vegas to go see Wemby play. And because one of his buddies is a scout or something like that, or he works for Ball His Life. And anyway, then they bought tickets to go to that UFC event. And they were saying how electric. It was after the Moreno fight. I said, this is one of the craziest cards I've ever seen. And he said, oh, I know. And, but no, dude, I mean, Dan Hooker, that's just the definition of how crazy that card is. If you're not a big fan of UFC and you're bored for 15 minutes, want to kill time, go watch that fight on YouTube. You want to see pure heart, pure aggression, pure dudes going at it for 15 minutes, go watch that.
Yeah, and Jalen Turner is a savage, bro. Like some of those shots he took and still stood. That guy should have got knocked out. Dan Hooker should have been knocked out as well. That might be a contender for fight of the year.
Yep. But they didn't even win fight of the night.
I know, which is
crazy to me. I will say, Jalen Turner, man, you got to do your job. You got to make weight. Jalen Turner came in 3 pounds over. I believe he weighed in at 58, and he was supposed to weigh in at 55. So not going to talk too much trash there. I'm not trying to make weight right now, and I know how hard it is. I've been there, done that. But, yeah, man, hell of a fight. I can't believe that didn't get fight of the night, but, yeah.
And congrats to Dan Hooker for getting an extra 20% of that purse.
Yep.
First fight of the night, man. Bo Nickel with a 38-second knockout over Val Woodburn. Dude, that left hand, if he's hitting that, that's scary. I do want to say this before you talk, Ward, because I know with your humble self that you wouldn't say this. But Ward, for the past 4 years, has been telling us that Bo Nickel was going to be a champion in the UFC. And, man, he looks like he did a hell of a scouting job. We know Penn State wrestler. Obviously, Ward is a wrestler guy. American wrestlers are his dudes. I just thought it was another guy that he likes. This dude is legit, bro.
Cam, I love the shout out, man. Thank you so much. But no, Bo Nickel is the shit. I think he is if you look at some of the big prospects that's come into the UFC the past couple of years, Khamzat Chimaev, Sean O'Malley, that young Mexican guy, I can't remember his name, the 18-year-old.
Patty Pimblett as well.
Patty Pimblett as well. I mean, you have to throw Bo Nickel above all of them. Bo Nickel's only 2 fights in the UFC. He came in as a minus 3,500 favorite. You have to bet $3,500 to win $100 in that case. It's the biggest UFC favorite ever. It dropped obviously before the fight. I think it dropped down to minus 2,400 or something like that, which is still absolutely insane. This dude's showing he doesn't just wrestle. He knocks people out too. I mean, he has all elements of the game. So I'm really excited. I think they're going to kind of cater to Bo Nickel like they have done with Sean O'Malley. They're not going to throw him to the wolves yet. They're going to let him fight 4 or 5 bullshit fights and then jump into it. Do you think they'll do that, or do you think they'll throw him to the wolves?
Yeah, I think that they need to do that. I don't think you need to throw this guy to the wolves yet. And they asked Dano about this, and he goes like, "What do you guys want me to do? The guy just beat is 8-0."
Yeah.
Which he has a point. Like, what do you want him to do? Throw him to 30-0 guys, 30-3 guys?
I saw a statistic today. And do you think Bo Nickel is the most accomplished wrestler to ever be in the UFC? I know I kind of threw that one at you. I didn't let you think about it.
Well, you've got him. You've got Brock Lesnar is on that list, but I don't think he's as accomplished.
He won 2 natties.
Okay. What about
he won 1 natty? He was a 3-time All-American.
What about Ben Askren at Missouri? Did he win? He won 2, yeah?
I believe he won 2, yeah. So my thing, the way I was thinking of it, I think Bo Nickel is number 2 behind Triple C. And the only reason that I throw Triple C in there is because he's an Olympic gold medalist and he won a national championship in college. I think Bo Nickel is the most decorated college wrestler in the UFC right now. But Olympic medals speak 3 times higher than any UFC championship or any college championship you can have. Hold up, my dog's barking. I'll be right back.
Okay. So as we move on, this is going to be quite a thing. So you guys are going to have to bear with me. The NBA is doing a new in-season tournament. So let me kind of go over this with you guys. So it's going to be 6 groups. It's going to be a World Cup style draw process. So basically what this means is from the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference, teams are going to be ranked 1 through 3, 4 through 6, 7 through 9, 10 through 12, and then 13 through 15. They're going to pick one team from each of those pods, they call it, to create evenly matched groups. So they're going to have a group play, which means you play a game against each team in your pod. The winner from each group plus the highest finishing non-winner in each conference. So you're going to have 3, 3, and then the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference highest finisher are going to advance to a knockout round. And the winner of the tournament, it was hard for me to even read this. It was so confusing. So bear with me. It's going to be $500K for the winning teams. Each player gets $500K. $200K for second, $100 for third, and then $50 for fourth. They're naming this the NBA Cup. They're talking about giving it a naming right, but this is going to be an in-season tournament for extra money, obviously, but also something to kind of add to the aura of the NBA is what the commissioner said. They want to add some more like upbeat, I guess, in the regular season. It's very odd to me. It's going to take a little bit to get used to, but I like the idea to have like an actual tournament in the NBA before the playoffs.
I love it, man. And I want to say hats off as well. Hats off to the NBA marketing team. I don't know if you tune into NBA at all, but NBA numbers have been, this year was a record low of NBA numbers. They're just TV viewing numbers outside of the playoff. Regular season numbers are just very down. And I think, by the marketing team here at the NBA, but the NBA in general, this is a huge, huge accomplishment. I think this is going to bring a lot of buzz and a lot of hype around the NBA. I don't like how they're paying the players. I wish they would do more of a maybe a trophy or something like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. Obviously, it's an in-season tournament. It doesn't matter, but still, it'd be something to kind of keep track over. I like it, Cam. I'm a fan, personally.
I like it, too. I like adding extra competition to the regular season. The regular season, the NBA gets so dry sometimes, but I'm excited to watch this.
I'll be the first one to admit that I don't watch much regular season NBA basketball. I'll watch some of the big games. I'll watch Christmas Day. I'll watch, what is it? The Monday night. They'll do the Monday night 9:00 primetime game, but I don't watch too much NBA, especially during football season. Never watch NBA.
Keeping it in the NBA, Ward's prediction about Victor Wembanyama looked perfect on Friday night. That was a bad start to an NBA career. He comes back yesterday or 2 days ago and has a redemption game of 27-10. But Ward, I want you to take us through your thoughts of that first game because I got unbelievable amount of text messages from this game from you. Tell me what was going through your mind, and then what do you think of the second game?
Cam, I told you I wasn't going to watch the Summer League, and I just shot myself in the head there. I was with all my buddies that are huge basketball fans. The Summer League was on. Everybody was all hype about Wembanyama and Brandon Miller playing against each other, the 1 and 2. I was hyped. I wanted to see this guy play. The thing about Wembanyama, man, as he comes out there, I get it, Summer League. I get the kid's 19 years old. He is so slow, man. Yeah, don't get me wrong. He's 6 inches taller than everybody on the court, and he's not even playing NBA talent yet. He's playing, not NBA talent. Let me phrase that right. He's not playing NBA starters yet. He's not playing the stars on each team. He just looks so slow with the ball. His fundamentals aren't there. He was missing dunks, man. He went 2 for 9 and he had 8 turnovers. They were pickpocketing him all day. He was getting bodied in the paint. I didn't watch the second game. I saw he went off the second game. But one thing about the second game that people don't mention, his shooting percentage was 39%. He wasn't shooting the ball well, but he was scoring. So he shot obviously a lot more. And most of his shots were in the paint too. I saw he hit a couple threes, but he was missing a lot in the paint. So and then now they're sitting him for the rest of the year. They're sitting him for the rest of spring or for summer, and we won't see him again until the NBA kicks off in October. So I don't know, man. I don't think I do think he's a bust, but I know I'm just, me, I'm a very outrageous sports fan when it comes to stuff like that. The kid's 19 years old. He has nothing but up to go. He has a very high ceiling, very low floor. So yeah, that's my rant on that one, Cam.
I agree with you.
First game, he looked like awful.
He looked terrible. The rim protection is always going to be there with a 7-foot guy.
Yeah.
But I am in the same boat as you. I could not believe how slow he looked with the ball. I was told that this guy was like a 7'4" Kevin Durant.
Yep.
The guy looks like Rudy Gobert dribbling the ball on the court, bro.
Looks like Pau Gasol back in the day.
But I still have high aspirations for him. I think this kid was set up to fail when we were saying that he's the greatest prospect since LeBron James. I think he's going to be a really good basketball player for a long time, barring there are no injuries. But I will say, game one was a rough start. Way to bounce back, kid.
Yep.
Keeping it with the Spurs, Ward, can you believe that Greg Popovich is going to be coaching for 5 more years with an $80 million extension?
Coach Pop, the legend. Dude, you are old, man. But I give it to you. There, you got Wembanyama, and they are investing their chips in you, man. Make this kid into a great. Because hey, after if I was the Spurs GM and I was the Spurs owner and I watched Wemby play game one, I'd give you $100 million. I'd say do something with this kid, make him good. So yeah, congrats to Pop though. He's a legend. He's an OG. Congratulations.
Some odd news to round it out here. I think Bob Huggins is back in the bottle, Ward.
Yep.
He had a announcement come out this week that said that he never resigned as West Virginia's head basketball coach. He has now hired a group of attorneys to sue the university for wrongfully terminating him. Dude, Bob Huggins is going down a bad road right now.
Yeah.
For a legendary coach.
Yeah.
You hate to see it go this way.
I watched it on ESPN this morning. It is kind of sad. I don't know what's going on. Obviously, there's two sides to a story, and then there's the truth. So, I don't know. I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, we hope Bob Huggins gets well. And again, don't let this deter you from the fact that my Gigi will be at his fish fry this spring coming up. But as we get into it, the Fat Cats draft is back. And like we said, 5 picks. I got first pick this week, Ward.
Big Dog has first pick.
We're doing best primes running back edition. This is something that we came up. We're going to do best primes, period. But there was such a large scope there, we decided to bring it down with running backs. This will be a thing that whenever we run out of drafts, best primes draft is coming back.
So I love it.
Starting it out with running backs, I want to say before we get into it, these are guys that I watched. I don't like to speak on people I didn't watch. It feels weird to me. So all you old heads, I know we're going to get comments. I know I'm going to get text messages. I watch these guys. You tell me the guys you watched you liked, and I'll respect your opinion, but I don't like talking on guys I didn't watch. So with that being said, at 1-1, I'm taking what I think is the best running back since 2000. He was drafted in 2007. I'm taking Adrian Peterson. Nice. His prime lasted from 2007 to 15. He won Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's the 2012 MVP, 7-time All-Pro, 7-time Pro Bowler. In that span of 9 seasons, he had 13,000 yards and 102 touchdowns, Ward.
Cam, I love it, man. He was obviously on my pick, on my list as well. Just crossed him off. But just like for all the old head listeners out there, I also picked running backs that I grew up watching play. And also, Cam, I did something a little different than you. I did by season. So I did best prime season rather than prime 2 or 3 year stretch. But I'm going to go with my one as well. And I'm sure you have this guy on your list, Los Angeles / San Diego Chargers GOAT running back, Mr. LaDainian Tomlinson. TCU legend. When I went to that TCU game, every single person there had a LaDainian Tomlinson jersey on. But in the year 2008, I believe I have that written down. Yeah, 2008, LaDainian Tomlinson had 1,800 total yards from scrimmage with 28 touchdowns. 28 touchdowns in 1 year and 16 games is absolutely insane stat to think about. Imagine having that guy on your fantasy team. But yeah, so he's going to be my one.
That was a hard thing for me to go between those two because I think undisputably.
If you went with LaDainian, I was going with Adrian Peterson.
Exactly. Those are the two best. I want to correct you real quick, Ward. He had 28 rushing. He had 31 total touchdowns.
31 total. I appreciate you correcting me.
Here's his prime, my prime for him, which is a 7-year span. Offensive Rookie of the Year. He was a 2006 MVP. He was a 6-time All-Pro, 5-time Pro Bowler, 14,000 yards and 129 touchdowns between 2001 and 2008. If you've got any other guy than those two with your first pick, you're wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, I'm going to get a guy who I loved growing up, and that's Sean Alexander. He's from Kentucky, went to Alabama. I say his prime is from 01 to 05. He was the 2005 MVP. He was a two-time All-Pro, three-time Pro Bowler. In those 4 seasons, he had 9,000 yards and 98 touchdowns, Ward.
Love it. Love it. Great pick. I'm going to switch it up a little bit, Cam. My number 2 is going to be Madden 2010 cover, Mr. ECU legend himself, Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson in the year 2009. Just think about this. 2009, he had 2,500 rushing yards from scrimmage. Rushing yards. That is insane. In 1 year, this guy was like 5'9", man. He broke the record at the time for the 40-yard dash in the NFL Combine. This guy went to ECU, which is an hour down the road, grew up watching this dude play. Go Pack. And we whooped his ass when he was at ECU. But yeah, it was I had to throw him on the list. He's my number 2, Cam.
Yeah, I love it. I lived in Nashville for that season. Dude,
everybody had Chris Johnson jerseys, didn't they?
The way we talked about Panthers fans in that 2015 season, like coming up to you and saying, "Hey, did you not?" That's how it was in Nashville, Tennessee, bro. Mm-hmm. Every person was a Tennessee Titans fan, and they weren't even that good that year. Yep. Bro, CJ2K had that town rolling. He was so fun to watch. With my third pick, I'm going to take a guy in Edgerrin James, who was a Colts legend. From 99 to 05, he had an MVP, 3 All-Pros, and 6 Pro Bowls. That dude was fun to watch. I don't have his stats right in front of me. He had 2 2,000-yard seasons. This guy was super fun to watch. He was the epitome of an early 2000s running back, in which he got like 35 carries a game and was just bumbling over dudes. He was a really fun running back to watch growing up.
Love it. My number 3, I'm going to choose the only running back in the NFL right now that is the literal definition of the face of their team. I'm going with 2020 Derrick Henry. COVID year Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry this year had not one. You got to think about it. He had 17 total touchdowns and 2,100 yards rushing from scrimmage. And Derrick Henry is an old style running back. He is to run the ball down your throat, run you over, run through you. 6 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry. So I'm going with that's my number 4, taking Derrick Henry.
Yep. And I believe that was your number 3, Ward, because this is my number 4.
It is my number 3. I'm sorry. My bad.
Yep. I don't have the stats in front of me again. I just had the stats for my top 3 guys, but my favorite running back from growing up is Steven Jackson. 39 for the Rams, bro. This guy was 40 times a game, running it for 4 yards down your throat. Mark Bolger was the quarterback of that team. I don't know if you remember this, Ward. This guy was so fun to watch. He was my Madden go-to. First-round pick every year in Madden. Steven Jackson's on my team.
Steven Jackson, I like it.
Will be my number 4 here.
I like it. My number 4, Cam, I'm going a little different here. I'm going with the Redskins legend. I'm going with 2012 Alfred Morris. Don't know if anybody watched the human highlight reel. Alfred Morris, every time he scored a touchdown, he hit the baseball. But 2012, this was the year that we made the playoffs for the first time since 05. We had rookie RG3. Alfred Morris is what set RG3 up for success because of the way we ran the ball. This tells you anything about this guy. He averaged 6.9 yards per carry this year. He had 1,613 yards total in rushing, and he had 15 total touchdowns. He had 2 receiving, 13 rushing, which is pretty, for 1 year with behind a 25 ranked offensive line in the NFL, that's pretty good. So he's the best running back I've ever seen for Washington. So he's going to be on my GOAT list.
I can't believe that you didn't take another Redskins running back, and I'm not going to say it. I'm going to leave
Clinton
it.
Portis, I didn't watch him play.
Yeah. Yep. So
didn't
with
watch
my
him
last
play.
pick, part of the reason this guy's going to be on my team is, one, because he shares a name with my grandfather, but also because he is super fun to watch back in the day. That's Fred Taylor of the Jaguars. He went to Florida. This guy was super fun to watch, man. He has a podcast now. If you haven't listened to it, it's called The Pivot. But I believe he was a 2-time All-Pro, and he was also a 2-time Pro Bowler during his prime. His nickname was Fragile Fred, though, Ward. He got hurt a lot, but when he did play, he was super fun to watch.
Yep. Love it, Cam. And my 5, I'm actually going to throw it back to 2012 again. So this is a player that, and I know you played Madden at this time. Everybody loved this guy in Madden. Every year that I did a fantasy draft on franchise mode, this guy was the first guy I picked. Played for the Kansas City Chiefs, and his name is Jamal Charles. Little Jamal, little fast guy. He had 99 speed in Madden, 98 acceleration. In 2012, he had 1,500 yards rushing with 16 touchdowns. He had 16 total touchdowns. He was a big receiving back as well. But you can't name some running backs that we grew up watching without naming like 2-year wonder Jamal Charles.
I love it. They also had Dwayne Bowe on that team who had like a 17 touchdown season, which is hilarious. I think Jamal Charles also has the highest fantasy game of all time.
He does. 53 points against the Raiders.
Yep. So I do want
59 points. I'm sorry.
I do want to name some honorable mentions because there's so many guys that I had on this list. I'm going to let you go first, though, Ward, if you have any extra guys.
I have one honorable mention, and this is not a guy that I grew up watching play. And for all the old heads, you probably won't enjoy me saying this. But I'm going with O.J. Simpson. And the reason I'm going with O.J. Simpson, a.k.a. the glove did not fit, not saying he's not guilty, but the glove didn't fit, man. But anyway, O.J. Simpson was the first player in NFL history to break 2,000 rushing yards in a season. And you got to think about it, too. The year that O.J. Simpson broke it, they only had 14-game NFL seasons, Cam. He averaged 186 rushing yards a game, which is absolutely magnificent over a 14-game season. That's pretty so he's gonna be my honorable mention. The glove didn't fit.
I love it. Imagine how many Broncos he could have bought if he would have just kept his name. But I've got a bunch of names here, and again, if we forgot anybody or you want to add, drop it in the comments, text us, do whatever you want to do. I've got Priest Holmes Ward, which was before Jamal Charles, before our time. Brian Westbrook for the Eagles was electric until he got hurt. He was super fun to watch, and I'm keeping it in your division here, Ward. We already mentioned Quentin Portis, who I loved watching. I've got Marion Barber, who used to play for the Cowboys. He was tough. Brandon Jacobs used to play for the Giants.
Yep.
Huge guy. I mean, he was so fun to watch. Yep. In Atlanta, we had Michael Turner for a couple seasons. I don't know if you remember him. And then the last guy on my list was Jamal Lewis. Played for the Browns and the Ravens. He was tough. So that's our honorable mentions.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead.
I was just saying that was our honormentions. mentions. That's our draft.
I have one honorable mention too that I did not add, Cam. I wanted to throw in LaShawn McCoy in Philly.
Yep,
I know you mentioned NFC East, and I can't DeMarcus Murray, DeMarco Murray, Cowboys running back. He was another one that was really good, man. You know, obviously, as a Redskins fan, we play them twice a year. So
Arian Foster's another guy who had a crazy few years. So I mean, I'm sure that guys will start popping in as we.
Oh yeah, and if whoever we forgot, let us know, please, and we will argue with it about whether they should be top 5 or not.
Yep. But as we move on, we've got some NBA news, and this is a funny story, Ward. So I don't know if you know Paul Reed. He's a backup center for the 76ers last year. Great nickname. His nickname is B-Ball Paul. So the Jazz offered him. He's a restricted free agent, which means that any offer he accepts, the 76ers can match, and he has to go back to Philly. The Utah Jazz offered him a 3-year, $23 million deal for a backup center position.
Oh, wow.
Here's the catch. The first year is completely guaranteed, but the second and third round are only guaranteed depending on a second-round playoff berth.
Really?
So if he goes to Utah, probably not making the playoffs, which means his last 2 years are not guaranteed. If the Philadelphia 76ers match, they're more than likely making it to the second round of the playoffs every year. That contract is guaranteed. The 76ers match, they're paying $23 million for a backup center in B-Ball Paul. This is a hilarious story with the incentive-based contract. I mean, Danny Ainge absolutely puts a screw job to the 76ers. I thought that was hilarious, Ward.
You know, thinking of the Utah Jazz, I'm glad you mentioned that. I don't think that I can name one player that's on the Utah Jazz roster. I was just thinking about it. I was like, who do they have?
Oh, I could name their starting five. That's how much of a sicko I am.
Who I know that who they have Colin Sexton's on the Jazz, right?
Yep.
Okay, he's the
Yep.
only one that I know.
They've got Colin Sexton. They've got Jordan Clarkson. They've got
Clarkson too, that's right.
They've got Ochai Agbaji. They've got who won a national championship at Kansas 2 years ago. They've got Lauri Markkanen. They've got Walker Kessler at the 5.
Yeah, you are a stat nerd, man. I couldn't tell you that.
I'm a loser. I know the entire Utah Jazz starting 5. Moving on, not a loser. Luka Doncic gets engaged. That woman hit
She
the
hot?
lottery. She's very pretty. He got a good-looking woman, but that woman knows how to pick a man out of the pack. They've been dating since they were 16, Ward. So you talk about scouting us.
Oh, yeah. She scouted him out. Oh, yeah. She's a very, very pretty woman.
How you were with Bo Nichols, she was with Luka. She hit the lottery here. So congrats to those two.
Congrats to Mrs. Doncic.
Our last point on the NBA award, a 1970 Pistol Pete Maravich basketball card just auctioned off for $552,000. First of all, that's nuts. That raises the question, though. If money is not an object, you're the richest man in the world, you can throw hundreds of billions of dollars out of the way. What is the most amount of money you would pay for a piece of sports memorabilia?
You know, I'm gonna be honest, Cam. I know that you like sports cards. I know you gave me a piece of sports memorabilia that David Thompson Pepsi can back in the day. But dude, I'm just not a big sports card guy. I used to have them growing up. I had a little binder of them, but I personally
let's take cards out of it. Signed jersey, signed helmet, signed picture, piece like game worn jersey signed, anything.
I would spend if I could get
OJ Simpson Bronco.
Oh yeah, if I would pay some money for a Taylor Heineke signed Redskins or Commanders helmet.
Ward. Dude,
personally,
you could get a Taylor Heineke Redskins helmet for like $200 right now.
No, he not signed, man. He's my favorite Redskin of all time. Either him or RG3.
So you're telling me like RG3 game worn jersey signed to Ward Sewell. You'd rather have a Taylor Heineke helmet than that.
I would. Yeah, Taylor Heineke had a better impact than RG3 did. But if you're talking like thinking way back, I'd like to have I don't know. I'd have to think about that, Cam. You kind of put me on the spot there, man.
I did. I apologize. I'm gonna put you on the spot one more time, Ward. What is the most you would pay for a Commanders Super Bowl win?
I'm not going to say how much money is in my bank account, but if we could be the Kansas City Chiefs for the next 5 years, I'd give every dime in my savings. But listen, I would give every dime in my savings, but I get to go to those Super Bowls, win or lose. I get a guaranteed ticket.
Okay, I like it. I would say if money is not an object for me, for sports memorabilia, I'd pay millions of dollars for something I wanted. I don't care. If money is not an object, dude, I paid like $300 for a signed Boogie Cousins basketball, bro. That's how much of a sicko I am. But and then Super Bowl for the Steelers, I've seen 2. I would pay, if money isn't an object, millions of dollars for a Steelers Super Bowl. And yeah, that's it. I do have another question on the top of my head for you, Ward, but I'll save it for later. Real quick, we got some NFL news, and then we'll get into pet peeve of the week. The Panthers are inducting Julius Pepper and Moose Muhammad into their Hall of Honor. So congrats to those two. Those two are really the 2 guys you think of outside of Cam Newton and Luke Kuechly when you think of Panthers football. At least
we both played against Moose and Muhammad's son too, so good for them.
Kid's a stud at Texas A&M right now, by the way.
Yeah.
And real quick, we've got some weird news in college football world. Northwestern is penalizing Pat Fitzgerald. They just suspended him for 2 weeks. They're reopening the scandal.
No, they fired him this morning.
They fired him this morning?
Yeah, they fired him, or either last night or this morning they fired him.
Okay, well, I'm late. Pat Fitzgerald has been fired from Northwestern University for a hazing scandal. If you get into the details of some of this stuff, Ward, it's dark, man.
I saw, what is it? They put on a purge mask and hump each other.
Yeah, they dry hump the freshman if they made a mistake in practice. They do it in the film room, Ward.
No wonder why Northwestern has such good offensive linemen come out of there, man. They're wide in the hips. That's all I got to say.
Yep, them hips ain't tight up there in Chicago. But Ward, I do want to talk about something kind of serious, and this is there a culture problem in Athens right now? Now, we had the comment last week that Justin's favorite sports duo's UGA football team in the Athens Correctional Department or whatever. But since Kirby Smart has been hired at Georgia, there's been 13 different domestic dispute incidents between football players and women, and there's been over 300 traffic violations reported, Ward, 3 of which has 3 players exceeding 100 miles per hour in a week span. Kenny McIntosh, a former running back, had 3 separate offenses for traffic, or 3 separate traffic offenses in a 6-month period. And then Keely Ringo, who got drafted last year, was warned and ticketed for exceeding 90 miles per hour in a 35 twice in 6 days.
Damn.
This on top of the player and trainer losing their life after the national championship, which Jalen Carter is wrapped up in. Dude, is there a problem in Georgia right now?
I guess that Kirby Smart is giving these boys some money because, obviously to be going that fast, you got to drive a nice car. And, obviously to drive a nice car, you got to have some money. And obviously you're not working a full-time job when you're in college. So there's some money coming from somewhere either before you sign or when you get there. But either that or them Athens Police Department cops are strict, son. They're looking for some athletes to write tickets to. But one thing, Cam, and if it was any other school, you'd hear a lot more about it. But Georgia wins football games. And at the end of the day, when you win football games, this shit does not matter. So, I mean, it matters, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it, I'm sure there's a lot more that get swept under the rug. How many players do you think have been pulled over that have something on them or maybe have had a couple beers or going 120 and a 35 and, oh, I just pulled over Stetson Bennett. Oh, yeah, you're good, man. Can you sign this hat to give to my son? So,
I know what you're saying, man. And winning cures all. If they were going 6-6, Kirby Smart would have got the boot a long time ago for winning national championships. And I hate to quote Ward here, but that shit don't matter if you're winning national championships. And as we move on, kind of I got one more question. Here's the question I had for you, Ward. I'm going to skip over it. I want to know, and we've talked about this before, and I don't want you to say state because I'm not going to say Kentucky.
Deal.
If you were a 5-star high school prospect, whatever position you want, any of that, what college are you going to?
I love this question. I've talked about this so many times, but I'd keep it in the South. I would probably say I'm a 5-star linebacker, number 1, number 2 linebacker in the nation. I can go wherever I want.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Let's do this the right way because this is how the recruiting process goes. I want your top 5, and I want you to wait about 5 seconds, and then I want you to do a commitment.
Let's do top 3.
Do top 3. And I want you to do the announcement live on air for the Fat Cats podcast.
Okay, so if I'm a 5-star linebacker, I can go to any 3 schools in the country based off right now. My top 3 will be, in Cam, you're going to hate this. One of the hats is going to be that orange Tennessee hat over there in Knoxville. That's going to be one of the hats. The other hat is going to be that red Georgia hat is going to be in the middle. And another hat is going to be that orange Clemson hat, which hates me to say as an NC State fan, but I've been to Clemson Stadium. It's pretty cool, not going to lie. So, like I said, I'd keep it down south. If I had to throw 5 in there, LSU be in there too, dude. I don't know. I wish I could have had this problem one day, or I wish I had this problem about 5 years ago. But I'm going to be honest, Cam, if I had to go to one, with the competition in the SEC, being a linebacker, facing 5 NFL running backs a year, 6 NFL quarterbacks a year, 10 NFL wide receivers a year, I might get stat pad a little bit, man. I might go to Clemson and go to a college football playoff and be like, what's that dude's name that started that gym? Ben Boulware. I'd be like Ben Boulware. So I don't know, dude. But I would say right now off those 3 hats, probably Clemson.
I like it. So
where would you go?
I'm obviously an offensive lineman. Let's get that straight. Let's get that out of the way. I'm going with the top 5 here, Ward. I'm going to go LSU. I love Baton Rouge. I love that pick. I'm going to go Georgia. I'm gonna go Notre Dame.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Wisconsin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, they produce the Hogs, so yeah.
And I'm going to go Stanford at
Oh,
5.
okay.
And at this moment, I want you guys to respect my decision, but I will be attending Stanford University, man.
Stanford, big California
I'm
guy,
going.
huh?
I'm going out west, man.
You've
They
been
say
listening
once you
too
get
much
to
Tupac.
that's what it is. They say you get to Palo Alto, you never leave, man.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm going to go. Get a top tier education and just be a mauler for the Cardinal out there.
Yeah. You know,
But
looking back on it, I'd probably go to LSU over Clemson, not gonna lie. But
LSU would be a fun place to go play football at, bro.
probably too much fun. I probably wouldn't I don't know if I'd leave.
But if you guys made it this far, I want you guys to 100% drop where you would go. Justin Alford, you cannot say Clemson. You have to pick somebody other than Clemson. But as we roll out here, Ward, I want to hear your pet peeve of the week. This is the people's episode right here.
The people's episode, my pet peeve of the week, and actually I was scrambling to find something. I was driving home from work today, and I saw this. I look over, I'm at a red light, just chilling. I was actually blasting some NBA YoungBoy. I was bumping today. I don't know what type of mood I was in. Look over to my left. There's a lady in her Prius, nobody in the car, wearing a mask. I said, hey, just looked at her. I personally think, I get you're out in public, you don't want to get COVID. You have loved ones at home you can't give it to. Completely respect that. Completely understand. But when you're in your car with nobody there, come on, man. You really got to wear a mask. Yeah, I promise you, the COVID germs aren't flying in the air coming into your car. So, yeah, that is my pet peeve of the week, Cam.
Yeah, I misspoke there. I said episode. I meant segment. So please don't clip that. Don't make fun of me. I disavow what I said about 30 seconds ago. But my pet peeve of the week is people who are already talking about their fantasy football leagues. I get if you have a podcast or a TikTok page that does fantasy sports. Rule of thumb, nobody cares about your fantasy football league. So don't talk about it during the season. And for damn sure, don't tell me who you're drafting 2 months before your draft, bro. We're in the beginning of the summer. Why are you talking about fantasy football, bro?
Hey,
but that's Cam, my pet peeve.
Don't get mad at me, man, but I love talking about fantasy football even in the off season. So sorry, man.
I can't stand it. But
hey,
here we are.
Baseball going on. You got to have some sports to talk about.
Yeah, I guess, but man, it gets tough when we're breaking down PPR leagues and this guy's last season and where's Dalvin Cook going to go? Because I need to know what his APY is. Dude, shut up.
That's true. I agree there. I agree with that.
But moving on, we got full plate, empty stomach, and Ward, I'm gonna let you have the tee box here.
Yeah, man. I touched off on this earlier in our UFC segment. My full plate is going to be DDP, Dricus Du Plessis. He came out. He silenced the haters. He was a plus 400 favorite. Came out, beat the hell out of Bobby Knuckles, and secured a title shot against him and Izzy.
I love it. My full plate this week is, we just talked about, is there a culture problem? Here's the answer. No. UGA football recruiting. They've got 12 of the top 100 in this upcoming class, 3 of the top 5. And I'm going to read you off their offensive line commits, Ward. All 4 stars, by the way, according to On3. 6'6", 355, 6'7", 290, 6'8", 340, 6'6", 355, 6'7", 336, and 6'5", 315. Talk about having some hog mollies up front, man. That's unfair.
Hey, if I ever fight Cam, man, I need one of y'all on my side. We'll go take his ass out. But yeah, Cam, love it. My empty stomach is actually going to be the Northwestern athletic director for firing their head coach over hazing allegations. I get, the players shouldn't have been doing what they were doing, but how much does that actually reflect on the head coach? It's going on in the locker room. And as 2 former college football players, Cam, you can adjust to this. How much time do we actually spend with our head coaches, and how much time do we actually spend with our strength trainers? And the reason why, not even him not firing the head coach, but the reason why I say this is he's already came out and he's not firing any of the assistants, any of the strength staff, just the head coach. So I get every school does it. I hate to say it, but every school there is freshman hazing going on. Maybe not to this magnitude, but you can't fire a coach over some hazing. Let him correct it, and it won't happen again.
Yeah. And to answer your question, the day I transferred from the University of Charleston, I'm about 95% sure that my head coach did not know my name that day.
Yeah.
But anyways, I will say like that's probably it's bad, don't get me wrong, but I've seen worse stuff happening in a football locker room. I promise you that.
Me too.
But my empty stomach for the week is going to be the ESPN layoffs. ESPN
Oh,
laid
that's
off
a
Jeff
great
Van
one, Cam. Great
Yeah,
one.
they laid off Jeff Van Gundy, which I won't be watching ESPN basketball anymore if Jeff Van Gundy's not on there. They broke up one of the best casts there is. Susie Colbert got laid off. Jalen Rose got laid off. Steve Young, Max Kellerman. I didn't even know Max Kellerman was still on ESPN, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Keyshawn Johnson, who just got his own show like a week ago or a year ago. Matt Hasselbeck. And the worst of all is Todd McShay.
Yep.
Who's going to be doing draft coverage for ESPN if Todd McShay's not there?
Who on game day did they lay off on college football game day?
Keyshawn had made appearances, but they didn't take none of the full-time hosts got laid off.
Okay.
So that is my empty stomach. Again, let us know what your full plate empty stomach is. As we get out of here, I want to remind you guys, you can find us on YouTube and Spotify at the Fat Cats Podcast. Find us on Instagram and TikTok at Fat Cats Pod. Again, don't forget to get your order in for a shirt. Big news, probably should have said this at the beginning of the episode. Isaiah Belk is going to be our second interview and second guest. We're going to record tomorrow and drop on Thursday or Friday.
Big dogs are active, baby.
We're extremely excited to have Isaiah on the pod here, and we're going to start trying to crank out 2 a week here for you guys. But as we get out of here, song of the week, I'm going to go Charleston Girl by Tyler Childers. Ward, I think you got a story for this one.
I'm going to the Luke Combs concert on Friday. And for any of our listeners that are still listening, Cam, not sure how many there are, but me and the big dog Cam are going to be getting together and slamming some beers before the concert. So you'll see some live content then. We'll probably go live on Instagram. But so mine's going to be any given Friday night. And Cam, before we jump off, I don't think anybody's listening anymore. Did ESPN fire, that one the reporter for NBA that I used to talk shit about?
She did not. I know who you're talking about. She's still got it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell the story?
No, we'll leave that for another day. But no, hey, thank y'all so much for listening. Me and Cam love the support. We're still a startup podcast. We're getting up there. And, please continue to tell your friends about it. Leave us a like, leave us a comment, subscribe, unsubscribe, resubscribe, do what you got to do. But Cam, I love you, brother. Can't wait to see you on Friday. And if you made it this far, come meet me and Cam in Charlotte on Friday, and I will buy your first round.
I'll also double that. So you get 2 rounds. Ward, I love you, brother.
We'll see who's listening.
Peace.
All right, boys.